Welcome to another episode of the Leaders Code podcast, where we explore the insight of inspiring women leaders from all walks of life. In the evolving landscape of higher education, women leaders are not only breaking through barriers, but redefining what leadership looks like. They bring a powerful blend of intellect, empathy, and resilience to spaces that are often complex and demanding. Their influence extends far beyond administrative titles or academic achievements. They inspire cultural change, nurture the next generation of thinkers, and prove that strength can be expressed through compassion as much as through decisiveness. In lecture halls, conference rooms, and research spaces, these women bring fresh perspectives, challenge outdated norms, and lead with a vision that is both inclusive and transformative. They remind us that leadership in academia is not solely about knowledge, but about courage to shape environments where everyone has the opportunity to thrive. Today's guest is a shining example of that. With a PhD of higher education and years of experience leading both small and large teams of academics, she has shown that leadership is as much about fostering human connection as it is about achieving results. By guiding casual academics in university teaching, her focus has always been on cultivating warmth and kindness, knowing that when a team thrives, students feel it too. She describes herself as relational and leader who defines her worth by her own values rather than external expectations, and whose leadership extends beyond the lecture hall to serve as a model for her colleagues and students alike. Her story is not just about positions held, it's about the quiet, powerful ripple effects of leading with purpose, heart, and authenticity. Dr. Gabi Nudelman, happy to have you in our podcast here. It's a pleasure to have you, not just as an inspiring leader, but as someone who I had the privilege to work alongside. Oh. Welcome here, Dr. Gabi.
Thank you. It's so wonderful to be here and a real honor.
Gabi, you wear a lot of hats, like as an academic leader, as a researcher, and recently championing a kindness project in higher education. For those who haven't had the pleasure of working with you, how would you introduce yourself beyond the titles?
Well, as you said, I'm Gabi. I am a mother. First and foremost, I am a very family-orientated person. That plays a major part in my life, very community-orientated, family-orientated, and I would say I am an interested human being. So beyond the titles, really what I'm here to do in life is to stay open, stay curious, learn more, constantly learning, and higher education is a fantastic space for that. And meet fantastic people. I'm not from Australia. I'm an immigrant, and part of this journey has been one of really putting myself out there, staying open, acknowledging what I know as well as what I don't know, and being really humble in staying open to what comes around.
Beautiful. Gabi, you've led a team from small group to large group of 27 casual academics in a single term. What's the biggest strategy of in leading this team and keep this team engaged and aligned at the same time?
Well, I'm glad you brought up that example, because leading a team of 27 casual tutors was, to be honest, completely terror-inducing the first time that I did it. The thing about my team, Rawa, is that they are made up of completely exceptional human beings. We've got academics, professional staff, people at the top of their game, all different ages, different cultures. And there I was, this newbie to Australia, walking in and suddenly in this position of leadership and needing to find my way. And it was, to be honest, the first time I'd ever been in a position of leading such a huge group of people. And in the build-up, I was trying to think, how do I navigate this? How do I present myself? And I realized very quickly that coming in with the attitude, I know everything, I'm the perfect person, I've got it all figured out, that just wouldn't work. And that's for two reasons. The first is that I don't. I definitely don't know everything. I very often make mistakes. So that attitude wasn't going to align with reality. And secondly, it also also wasn't going to align with my values. That's just not the kind of person that I am. So I realized that I would need to very consciously foster and build relationships with my team. And in doing so, hopefully be able to build trust, be able to build community amongst us, get buy-in from everyone so that we could work together to make it better. So it's not a top-down thing, but a bottom-up action. And I found that seemed to work really well with the team. Probably something special. It's not always, and we'll talk, I'm sure, more about the higher education space. It's definitely not always the case, but most of the time, casual academics come and they do the role because they love teaching, because they love students. We have a very values-based course that I teach as well. We're looking at sustainability and ethics. So we have a team who have buy-in to those ideas as well. And so taking that more community building, connection building approach to leading the team really seemed to work. And I hope what we started with a year and a half ago, I hope that that's still developing and propelling us forward as a course community.
So let's explore a little bit more in that and look at the behind-the-scene version. In leading such a group, team or large group like that, what sort of strategies you are using to foster warmth and collaboration between members?
Well, remember, when I started off, I didn't know anybody. So I realized that I was going to have to really make a proactive effort to build those connections. So initially, I connected one-on-one with each of the team members. Some were new as well, and that kind of made it easier. But even the people who'd been around for a long time, I made sure that we went for coffees. For those who weren't on campus, we made online chats, and I really put in that time. And I don't want it to sound like work, because it wasn't. It was a pleasure and a joy to do that. Yeah. But I really intentionally worked on building that one-on-one connection with each person. Find out who they are. Why are they doing this? What are their interests? What's their background? So I did that initially as we started. And I keep that up, hopefully. You know, so many of my tutors have become my close friends as well, which is an absolute secondary gift that I have to say from being in the privilege of this position. So there's that, but we also try to do other things. Our courses run for 10 weeks. I begin each week with a feedback video or a feed forward video, I'd say, where we talk about what we're doing, really connecting, staying open. We have a very active Teams group online as our teaching team, where people can share their ideas. I try to ask open questions. I try to learn from my team. And I hope that those channels that I have created indicate my openness, that people feel like they can come forward. And they do. They often do. We work in a very dynamic space, and things don't always go according to plan. And that's fine. And hopefully they feel open to come forward and to share. And then we find a way forward together.
I love this secondary gift that you just mentioned, become friends. That's really beautiful. And I witnessed that, Gabi. It's such a beautiful thing to do. But let me ask you as well about the management style of Gabi. In academia, leadership comes with balancing some administrative demands and people management. So what are the strategies for Gabi to do to navigate this tension that comes with the management people?
I think something that has really helped me here is working with very strong systems. And in terms of the sort of less exciting dynamic people aspect of leadership, in terms of the management things, I think having very clear systems in terms of tracking my work, making sure I know where everybody is, making sure that all the boxes are ticked, you know, things like pay slips and claims and sharing materials. I have quite firm systems in place for that. I trip up and I make mistakes, and then I apologize and we move forward. But I think having those firm systems really helps me be able to almost automate, not quite, but invest less emotional and intellectual work in those processes, which frees me up to deal with the more fun things.
But beautiful. But that balance relates to the difference between leadership and management. So how do you distinguish between both in your role? Because you are here to connect with the strategy of the university as well, but at the same time leading people and managing people.
Look, I think I agree with you that they are two different tasks, and I know we teach about that as well. But I do definitely see the link between them as well. Leadership, when we think about it, is much more about, who I am, the connection, the authenticity, hopefully getting people to buy in, to move forward with you in the positive direction. And I think if you've got that, the management stuff becomes a lot easier as well. People are more amenable. People are far more open. And people, what I've found in my experience is that when you create that base, that leadership-y base, people are more likely to help you and support you in those more management sides of things.
Yeah. But how does that shape the way you make decisions?
Look, I think what's interesting about making decisions in academia is that you're dealing with a lot of different stakeholders, right? So, of course, there's my teaching team. There's also the school level, school leadership. There's also the university, as you said, and looking at university policies and procedures. Then there's also industry bodies. We teach in a business school. And so we need to make sure that our coursework is aligned. Sometimes that. But I would say almost most importantly for me personally would be our students. Right? That's who.
That's the assets.
Not everybody agrees with me about this, but I think that's who we are there for fundamentally. So I would say a lot of my decisions are based around what is going to work best for our students, and how can we, whilst not sacrificing the others, because it's of course really important, it's about thinking how can we leverage our strengths as individuals and a team to make sure that we are helping the students have a really transformative journey, a transformative learning journey. So I think I will, when I'm needing to make these decisions and when I'm needing to lead, I will often come back to those various stakeholders and make sure that I'm checking the box. But aligned with my personal passion and my personal values would be coming back and thinking what's going to be best for our students in this situation.
So this beautiful, inspiring talk now lead me to perfectly to ask this question, Gabi. Recently, you are championing a kindness project in higher education, writing articles, highlighting the transformative impact on students. What inspired you first to explore that as driving force in Leadership Academy?
Well, thank you for bringing this up, because my kindness project is really I always call it my academic side hustle, but it's kind of my big passion. It started very randomly. We were on a group chat, at a group meeting online. There were hundreds of us on a university meeting, and this presenter said something about kindness, and I don't know, a little bell rang, something sparked, and I typed in the chat, I love kindness. Anyone else? And a few people said, yeah, I love it. What a good idea. Where does it fit in education? So based on that, I was new here. I didn't have many connections. I needed to find people, and I was like, they might be my people.
Networking.
Exactly. So I gathered those people together. I sent out an invitation. We set up an online meeting, and that was it. We started connecting and building this kindness project moving forward. The idea is that it was built on is that for many, actually, the university is not a very kind place to be. And we see that in the incredibly high levels of burnout among staff. We see it in students, and we know that mental health issues are spiraling among students. We see it in our interrelationships as colleagues. It's not always kind, and it should be. We are the laboratory for the world, right? We are the testing ground. We have people, amazing young students. Our job is to create spaces where they can thrive. So I find kindness a really beautiful way of going about developing the kind of learning space that will allow this to happen for our students and for ourselves. A crucial differentiation to make here is that kindness doesn't necessarily mean nice. And on that note, I do actually like being nice as well. But when we're talking about kindness, really what we're talking about here is not just saying nice things to make people feel good in the short term, but really basing our interactions, whether it is with staff, whether it is with students, really basing those on the values of respect.
It's not necessary to say yes to everything, Gabi.
100%. Actually, sometimes really the kind thing to do is to not say yes. But really what we're trying to do as a community at UNSW is really spread the idea of the power of what kindness can be. And I have to say there's an incredible reception to the idea. Every time I talk about this, more people want to get involved. Every day I've got more people coming to join our community, and it's just growing. It feels like a ball rolling and getting momentum as it goes along, which is an absolute privilege. So,
But how do you envision that approach reshaping the way we teach and connect in universities?
I think that's an important question, both in general, but especially now. When we look at the university at the moment, we're obviously going through a massive time of transition, particularly when we think about the impact of generative AI, increasing automation. I mean, the robots know everything anyway, so sometimes I think, wait, what am I doing? Why am I here? And I think that kindness is the thing that we can come back to.
Human ones.
Humans, right? No, even the cleverest machine cannot feel kindness.
Yes.
It cannot look at you and say, hello, I see you today. That is what our unique selling point is as universities. So being able to nurture that and develop that if we can get students walking out of the university with that instilled in them, what a blessing that'll be for everything, right? And when we look at graduate surveys these days, we see employers are looking for what they call the softer skills, but they're looking for things like critical thinking, like emotional intelligence, like being able to listen and communicate well, and kindness. Those values that underpin kindness are so important for those things. So again, I feel so passionately about this, because if that's what I can pass on to my students, long after they've forgotten the content and long after they can't remember what grade they got for their third assessment, if they've got those can be lasting lessons, which they then will go and pay forward.
Yeah. But in your experience, Gabi, what tangible changes you find in your students or your staff since you started this project when it is intentionally woven in the culture of higher education?
Oh, so much, Rawa. I mean, it creates a completely different sort of learning experience for students. I think, there's the very stereotypical sage on the stage model of what higher education can be like, where the lecturer who's overworked, exhausted, stands up, says some words, barks at their students, and goes off. And UNSW, we don't see a lot of that, but that idea is very built into what a university could be. But again, when we look at our students and we say, I see you. Who are you? What do you have to bring? Let me listen to that. Let me help you build connections. That builds that sense of esteem, of worth, of value, of psychological safety, where students are free to thrive. And I would say the same thing for us as colleagues as well. Finding people with similar values, starting to build that connection, knowing there are allies out there who are invested and excited about the same things as you, that can completely transform the experience of coming to work every day.
But some might see this value of kindness as a soft value. How do you respond to that?
I mean, I love the words. I love that differentiation between soft and hard, right? I mean, firstly, we know that's the idea that, soft means very feminine and not impactful and not making change. We know that that's not true, right? We know that these are the things that really differentiate some people from other things. And we know that these are the things that can fundamentally change the world by changing how we see and relate to each other. I'm okay. If you want to throw the soft skills insult at me, I will take it, because I feel no shame in that being an emphasis that I really want to encourage in my students.
But do you think it will demonstrate a real power in academic excellence and innovation if we take this as a value behind everything we are doing at the university?
Yeah, I really do. I think that what kindness can do is create safety, where failing is not the worst thing that can happen, where taking a risk is okay, because if it doesn't work out, there is grace for you to try again. And those are such important foundations for what you say, for innovation and for new things. If we're too scared to try, people aren't going to be willing to innovate and do things differently. But if we have that foundation of kindness and safety, it's far more likely that people will push for excellence and will be willing to try. And we see that, even if we think about supervisors, for example, I was very lucky in my PhD. I had fantastic supervisors, but I've heard horror stories of incredibly cruel, mean, unethical supervisors. And I see my colleagues and my friends who've studied in those kinds of situations situations, they just want to give up. They don't want to try something new. They're not willing to push themselves further. So just one of the many reasons I believe kindness is so valuable.
Hope this value will be there all the time, forever. Let's explore some more values, Gabi. Imagine you are embarking in a leadership journey and you have a backpack to put just 3 values, 3 mindset, and 3 skills. Which one would you choose? And if you can, please put them in order of importance.
Okay, beautiful. So I am going to start, in terms of values, I am going to definitely start with authenticity. Mm-hmm. I think people can see through artificialness. And I would struggle. I would get very tired being inauthentic all the time. But I think that my authenticity is something which allows people to connect with me on a real level, which then reaps all those benefits I spoke about before. So I think that would be an important value for me. I think compassion is a very important value for my leadership as well.
So kindness is so close to it.
Yeah, maybe they're related, right? Cousins.
Yeah.
Compassion and empathy, right? Really caring about people and not just seeing them as the ones who are there to fulfill your aims, but understanding that they are also on a journey and they also have things going on. And what is the most important for me at this moment might not be the most important thing for them at the moment.
Correct, yeah.
So I would say that is one.
Beautiful.
And then I'm not sure if this is... Should I do one more?
3.
One more. Okay, beautiful. What about respect?
Yeah, respect.
Sorry,
we'll add it to the list. Yeah,
that took me a moment.
Very important.
I think that took me a moment to get there, but I think, as I mentioned earlier, I'm an immigrant, and coming here with so little knowledge or understanding and having so many people who have stood up in my life and come across my path and taught me such amazing things, I think that's really instilled a deep respect. And I can't imagine I would, but I hope I don't ever lose that, because leadership becomes so much more enriching when you have respect for those whom you're leading, because then you're learning all the time as well.
So inspiring. Thank you for that. So mindset.
There we go. All right, let's talk about mindset. So curiosity is jumping out very strongly over here, and I am a very curious person. I love learning, as I think I've said already. I love learning. I love learning about people. I love learning about the world. I love thinking, how could we do things better? And I think that is that curiosity over there that keeps us going, keeps us thriving. True. And that probably feeds into my research as well, right? That's why we do what we do.
Exploring things, yes.
And I think somebody who is curious understands that there are very few black and white answers to things, right? Yeah. It's being open to the colors and the shades of things in between, and which is often where the beauty happens. And as an educator, I hope I can instill that in my students. Very often they're there to, what is the right answer? Let me do the right thing. Let me get the grade and pass. But hopefully I'm able to encourage them to look beyond just that. Beautiful. So I would say curiosity. I would say openness.
Openness, yep.
Yeah. And that's a lesson I've had to learn. Previously, I didn't work in teams that were as big as this. I've always, at my previous work, we were a much smaller department. We just kind of put our heads down and just went about doing what we're doing. But I've really opened myself to openness. Yeah. I've learned so many things, as I said before, new ideas, new ways of doing things, and that's really challenging me.
Other cultures as well, yeah.
Other cultures.
Because here in Australia, we are multicultural,
exactly.
Society.
Other cultures, other approaches, other solutions to problems. I think previously my mindset was, there's a problem. I'm going to do the thing to fix it, and then I do it and I move on. And this whole journey has taught me, I see the problem. Here's what I think I could do, but hold on, is there anything else?
Yeah.
Which is always going to make it far richer than what I can come up with by myself. And I think feeding to that, I'm going to go with humility.
Humility, yeah.
As a mindset. So just knowing I'm never going to have all the answers, and just knowing I'm definitely going to make mistakes, and just knowing that other people will have a better approach than I do sometimes. And that's fine. Nobody minds. People are going to be open to that. And as long as I'm here for my team, I'm here for my students, and whatever is best for them, it might not be my idea. I might make a mistake along the line. But as long as fundamentally I'm achieving what's best for them, I'm totally fine with being wrong, making mistakes, and so on.
Can I add one else to your list, Gabi? You describe yourself as relational. How does that mindset help you solve problems or handle conflicts?
I think where relationality really helps me is that I've done that work. It doesn't feel like work, it's a joy. But when I have those relationships, which I've truly invested in and worked on building, when problems come up, when there is conflict, I can go to that level and talk to the person as a human being. I know how the person thinks. I understand what their priorities are. I know their values. So when we're working together to solve a problem, we can tap into that. One of my favorite jobs that I've had at UNSW is that I was the grievance officer for my school. And what that meant was then mainly when students had a problem with anything that had been going on in any of their courses, or something with another student, or perhaps with an academic, part of my job was to help solve that, to act as an intermediary if the communication had broken down and we needed a solution. And I found that there wasn't a huge relationship built. I didn't know these students, but I really found very often people just want to be heard. Right?
Yes,
and they need to share, not want to in a vain way. They need to share. They need to understand that we're taking them seriously. And I think that was a skill that I really brought to the role, was creating time to just say, tell me what happened.
Wow.
Help me understand. I see how you feel. I acknowledge that must have been very hard for you. Let's think, how do we find a way forward? And I'm proud to say I had a perfect solution rate as grievance officer, because I think people really resonated with that. And I loved being able to find a way forward that worked for both parties in the grievance.
Beautiful, so inspiring, Gabi. So let's go to the skills now, please.
All right. So I would say collaboration. And I've been learning that lesson very much, and learning how much better solutions are when we all work together to achieve them. So I would say that would definitely be one. Communication, certainly. And you've got here listening. I'm going to lump listening under communication, because I think we often think about communication as just talking. I'm learning that sometimes it's very good to stop talking. Apparently. And just listen to really hear what people are saying, aside from just the words, to really try and understand their motivations, their hopes, and to build that into the process as well. And then, systems. It's not terribly exciting, but I would say the skill of being able to build those good systems, and that takes a bit of strategic work. It's not my favorite part of the job, but when I really think, sometimes I think to myself,
that's so unique, Gabi. I love this.
Sometimes I think to myself, okay, what would help future Gabi? So next term, what will I need that'll help make my life easier next term? And to really take time to map that out. And maybe my systems are not the same as everybody's, but that's fine. I'm trying to build those systems that will make my job easier going forward.
Keep learning.
Exactly.
The way forward.
Exactly.
Okay, beautiful. So that's the skills, the three skills.
Thank you.
That's excellent. I want to go through a survey that I did. It's a strategic things that I want to explore in your journey, Gabi. I want you to arrange this in order of importance to your leadership journey.
Very exciting. Let's have a look what we've got over here. Okay, I would say I would probably go with that one first.
So which one is this
All right,
one?
so first I would go with continuous learning through renewal and innovation. That's very important. I think that's so important as well, because we're living in a dynamic world, incredibly dynamic. Again, like I was saying, higher education, things are changing every day, whether we're talking about government policy or university priorities or the technology. So I can't stop learning, otherwise the train will just go without me. So I would probably take that first. The second one I would say is risk-taking through effective communication. And I will be very honest with you. I find almost every day a few things happen that I find really scary.
Wow.
But I'm not going to hide away. I'm going to jump in and just do it.
Yeah.
And so for me, that's the idea of risk-taking, being out there, putting myself out there, trying things differently. And I'm hoping that my communication skills will help with that, will help me navigate those, even when I'm failing or not doing very well or making mistakes. I'm hoping that communication will help me there. I would probably say trust-based decision making.
Yep.
After that, I like to assume the best of those around me. I like to believe that the people who surround me on my teams are people that I can trust.
Yeah.
And because of that, I feel like I can rely on them when I'm making decisions. So I would say that. And my final one would be vision-driven transformation. And I can absolutely see the importance of this. But I mean, I have big visions for how I would like things to be, but then quite fuzzy paths as to how we get there. Maybe that's something I need to develop further. Alternatively, maybe that's my uniqueness. You know, we spoke about openness, we spoke about curiosity. I'm happy to figure out the path as I'm getting there towards
but
my
let's
vision.
go back, Gabi, if you don't mind, to the assume the best. I know that you've been recognized as a finalist at the assume of the best at UNSW in this category. Did you find any ripple effect out of this, like anything that you face as a challenge, you turn into opportunity because you assume the best about people?
I would say yes. You know, one very small answer to this, it's small, but it just makes life better when we're assuming the best of people. You know, I don't want to live my life believing that people are out to get me, to trip me up. They're going to fail. They're not good enough. Because then I'm living my whole life in a defensive position where I'm like sort of trying to put out fires before they've even lit. And I don't want to live my life like that. You know, I as I'm getting older, I'm thinking more and more about the shortness of our lives, how we only have a couple of years to make things happen. And whilst, of course, I want to be there for my team, I want to be there for my students. Obviously, I have that service aspect to my leadership, but I'm also I really want to live intellectually curious, fascinating, dare I even say fun life moving forward. And I think assuming the best can really help with that. You know, it comes with positive intent. It means that when I connect with someone, whether it is a staff member, whether it is a colleague, whether it's a student, it means that I'm ready to pull the most out of that interaction. And I would say in the classroom, somewhere where I really action this idea of assuming the best, because I just assume that our students who are at our university are amazing. I mean, they must be if they've got to this position. And that means there's so much that I can learn from them. And that means I create space for them to share. And I respond to them and I really listen. And a few weeks later, I'll go back to what they spoke about and say how they impacted me. So
wow, it's so much to learn from this conversation, Gabi.
Thank
you. This is my last question now. If you want to summarize your leader's code in under 3 words, what would they be?
All right, so I'm going to start with relational. As you already said, that's something that is super important to me. I will then move on and speak about kindness, because the more I research it, enact it, connect with people, write about it, the more I'm seeing the value and the impact that can be. And the third thing that I will say is lifelong learning. So really being open to learning in all its many forms, whether it's academic learning, whether it's learning about people, whether it's better understanding the world. That's one that's really important to me as well.
They're very inspiring code, Gabi. Thanks so much for joining and give us this time for joining us on this podcast. Really pleasure to have you. Thank you.
Absolute privilege to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Gabi. As we reflect on the stories and journey of women leaders in higher education, it becomes clear that their impact reaches far beyond institutional walls. They shape not only academic standards, but also the values, mindset, and aspiration of those they lead. My guest today embodies this spirit, reminding us that leadership is as much about building relationship and fostering growth as it is about achieving measurable success. Her resilience, vision, and commitment to uplifting others show us what it truly means to lead with both wisdom and heart. For those of you watching, whether you are stepping into leadership or for the first time or navigating new challenges in your journey, I hope her story inspires you to lead with courage, authenticity, and purpose. Education's greatest power lies in its ability to transform lives, and leadership's greatest purpose is to guide that transformation with integrity and vision. Thank you for joining us today. Stay tuned. Another inspiring journey awaits you in the next one.